Ever get sucked into some corner of the internet and suddenly you're like, how did I end up here?
Oh, all the time. Those rabbit holes. Deep, man.
Exactly. And that's kind of the vibe today. We're going deep on a corner of the internet where, well, politics gets tangled up with, let's call it relationship drama.
Sounds messy.
Oh, it can be.
Yeah.
And it all kind of kicks off with this Amanda Milius quote. She was with the Trump administration. Anyway, she asks, why is Curtis Yarvin always surrounded by incels?
Okay, so first hurdle, gotta unpack incel.
Right. Like right off the bat, we need a definition.
It's one of those words that's morphed. Started as short for involuntary celibate. Basically, dudes struggling to find romantic or sexual partners.
Makes sense. But I feel like there's always another layer.
There is. It often bleeds into this resentment thing, not just frustration, but blame. Women are the target, feminism, the whole system, really. And the Spanish-speaking corners of the internet, they call this whole thing Virgo.
So it's not just a translation thing. It's like its own beast online.
Exactly. And that's key, because incel or Virgo, it's not just about dating woes anymore. It's a whole political ideology now.
Which brings us back to Curtis Yarvin, our supposed incel magnet. Who is this guy?
He's kind of a tech world meets political theory mashup. Started as a software engineer, now he's a big deal in the new right, and this thing called the Dark Enlightenment.
Dark Enlightenment doesn't sound super cheerful.
Yeah, not exactly sunshine and rainbows. It's almost like a contradiction. They're against like the core Enlightenment stuff, reason, individual liberty, democracy. Not exactly optimistic.
This is not your average political debate club then.
Not even close. Yarvin, for example, he's said democracy's broken. Thinks we might be better off with authoritarian rule, actually. And then he's got these views on race and intelligence.
Oh, okay, hold up. This is getting to some seriously controversial territory.
Yeah.
And this is the guy hanging out in Silicon Valley.
That's the wild part. Even with these extreme views, he's got fans in tech. Big names, too. Peter Thiel, Elon Musk, J.D. Vance. They've all got some link to Yarvin.
Now that is what you call a head-scratcher. These are the guys building our digital world.
And that's the paradox. You've got these tech titans all about innovation, disrupting the status quo, but they're drawn to a guy who basically hates the systems that made them successful.
It's like tear it all down, but also, hey, thanks for the billion-dollar company system I hate.
Right, totally.
Yeah.
And this is actually where we can bring in those incels and Virgos again.
Okay, because I was wondering about that. On the one hand, you've got tech billionaires. On the other, guys who, like, can't get a date. Seems like a stretch.
It's about how they see the world. Both groups, they feel like outsiders, like they've got this secret knowledge, everyone else is clueless.
The sheeple, right. I've definitely seen that term thrown around.
Exactly. And they're suspicious of everything. Government, the media, or in the case of incels, it's feminism, the whole dating game, everything's rigged against them.
So is that whole red pill thing?
Yeah.
Like in The Matrix. They've seen the truth, or at least their version of it.
Bingo! And Yarvin, fun fact, he's the one who made red pill a political thing. Reject what they tell you, see the real reality, which, can be a slippery slope. Whose reality are we talking about?
And that's where these online gurus, like Yarvin, they step in. They're the ones with the answers, right?
Totally. They tap into that feeling of being alone, of being angry, and they make it simple. Complex problems. Here's one easy answer. And of course, they're the brave ones, speaking truth to power.
Except they're kind of part of that power structure.
Exactly. It's like, down with big tech. Posts from iPhone, monetized YouTube channel in the background.
Is that revolution will be monetized thing.
Exactly. And because it's all online, these echo chambers, it's so easy to get swept up. No one stops to think, wait a minute.
So you're feeling left out, you find your people online, and suddenly you're being fed this very particular worldview.
And that's where the manipulation comes in, right? Short attention spans, need for constant content, emotions running high, perfect recipe for simplistic arguments, even dangerous ideologies.
And isn't this where the self-made man myth comes in, the whole pull yourself up by your bootstraps thing?
100%. In Silicon Valley, man, they love that myth. Individual success is everything.
I mean, you can see why. Bill Gates, Elon Musk, these guys built empires. It's inspiring.
For sure, they did amazing things. But the self-made story, it ignores so much. All the people who helped, the advantages some people have, the opportunities others don't.
So it's inspiring, but it also kind of upholds inequality.
Exactly. If everyone starts on a level playing field, then systemic racism, classism, all that doesn't matter. It's just you, alone, against the world. And that's just not how the world works. Success is almost never a solo act.
Okay, so we've got our tech giants, our incels, or Virgos, and this big self-made myth. How does it all connect?
Here's the key. These online influencers, they're all about personal brand, right? Me, myself, and I. And that plays into this illusion of control. Just like those Virgos who blame everything on external forces, these influencers, they act like they're totally independent, totally in control.
So it's like they're both buying into a fantasy, just on different levels. The influencer thinking they're the lone voice, the Virgo thinking it's the world against him, when the reality is there are always larger forces at play.
Yeah, totally. It's like they crave that agency, that feeling of control, but they miss the bigger picture. And what's really interesting is how much these influencers, even with all their I'm my own man talk, how much they're being influenced themselves. Not controlled exactly, but shaped.
Okay, so like puppet masters. Who are these puppet masters?
I don't know about literal puppet masters,
Yeah.
but you got to think about the algorithms, right? What we see online, it's all curated. And then there's bots, targeted campaigns, money flowing from who knows where, pushing certain agendas. It's not always a conspiracy, but it's never as simple as it looks.
So less about one guy with a plan, more about the whole system being kind of rigged.
Exactly. And this writer, Enrique Aurelli, he nailed it in one of the pieces you shared. He asks, and it stuck with me. But the most important question behind the veil is who financed their careers, their companies? What is the social engineering behind these esperpentos that lead to the end of society?
Esperpentos. Okay, got to be honest. Never heard that one before. What does that even mean?
It's Spanish. Hard to translate directly, but it gets at this distortion, this grotesqueness, like a funhouse mirror reflection of reality. And honestly, I think it fits this whole online thing perfectly. It just feels off, you know? Like it's all being manipulated for someone else's gain.
Like we're trapped in a funhouse mirror maze and nothing is what it seems.
Exactly. And that's the thing. It's not just about some guys feeling lonely or angry. It's way bigger than that. It's about trust breaking down, about reality itself becoming fragmented. Because these online spaces with their algorithms and echo chambers, they're tools. And tools can be used as weapons. The question is, who's holding the weapons? Who benefits from all this chaos?
Wow. So we went from incels and Virgos to like the entire fabric of our online world being manipulated. It's a heavy thought.
It's a heavy thought, but it's the world we live in, right?
I guess so. Aureli's question, that's a good one to end on. Who is pulling the strings? And what happens if we never figure out how to peek behind the curtain? Something to think about. Thanks for diving deep with us.
Anytime. Thanks for having me.